Alright, so I'm sure as you guys know, yesterday Royale High released a massive update, but what would an update be without a ton of backlash? You know, unfortunately, there is times where games will get wrongful backlash, and I do feel like this is actually an example of that, so I wanted to make a video talking about it, and it's gotten so bad that Royale High had to make a post being like, hey guys, like, come on, like, relax. So basically, for those guys that don't know, yesterday Royale High did a massive update that included the new set, as well as showing off the 2 Game Pass compensation prizes for Game Pass holders, since the Game Passes will stop working as of tomorrow, I believe. And basically, these 2 Game Pass items are 2 different halos, one of which looks like diamonds, which I believe this is for the 2 times Game Pass multiplier, and the other one is the heart one, which I believe is for the 4 times Game Pass multipliers. Now, personally, as somebody who owns both of them, I think they're very cute. I honestly don't have too much to say about them. I don't really mind. I know I've been pretty vocal about I wish the multipliers wouldn't have been removed to begin with, which I do still stand by. I wish they hadn't been removed because at the end of the day, I didn't pay for these halos. I paid for the game passes. But altogether, I do feel like this is actually a pretty fair reward, and they seem actually pretty cute. And I do believe that these could be styled by quite a lot of different people, so I don't necessarily feel like they're a bad prize inherently, right? You're of course allowed to not like them, but I do think that there's been a lot of criticism towards these items that I do think is a bit unwarranted, which we will get into in a second here. Now, on top of that, I have been considering potentially doing a giveaway for the new set, but I want to know your guys' thoughts down below. Should I do a giveaway? How many sets should I give away? Should I make it a competition? Let me know your thoughts down below before I decide, but regardless, there was this post released by the Royale High account on Twitter, which originally I was going to make this video yesterday, but I had Valentine's Day plans, so I ended up not doing that. But basically, they say, attention students, all Diamond Game Pass holders are hereby summoned to report to vote immediately. A vote is now in session to determine whether the compensation items shall be tradable or non-tradable. Your voice matters, do not be late. In new servers, scroll to the right in your shop to try the items on. Now, I did vote, but I don't want my vote to sway your votes, and so I don't really think it's too important, but I will explain why, because you guys will see it in the video recording that I'm showing you. But I did vote for the items to be not tradable, and I know there's 2 sides to the story, and a lot of people are saying, well, what if you don't like the items? And I can understand, okay, and I try to be empathetic, but at the same time, I just feel like people will use these items as some sort of like bait over newer players to basically have some sort of power imbalance if it is tradable, and I just don't like that. Personally, the Game Passes weren't tradable. I don't think these items should be either, but of course you guys are allowed to vote as you wish because that's your right as someone who has the ability to vote. So I definitely recommend that you guys hop on Royale High today to vote because I'm not quite sure how long this poll will even be up. I would assume maybe it might only be up till tomorrow. I'm not sure, but that hasn't been confirmed. Now, on top of that, Royale High ended up making a response to this initial post, and my goodness guys, it seems like there's been a lot of backlash. They say it's completely okay to say you don't like something. What's not okay is calling items cheap, ugly, or other disrespectful names. It's especially discouraging to reply to someone who's excited just to shut them down with negativity. We want to keep the space positive and respectful. If the items aren't your style, you're welcome to advocate for them to be tradable by voting in game. We added the poll and ability to try the items on for a reason. Thank you for understanding and helping us keep the community uplifting. Take a moment to breathe and reflect before getting angry. Which I have to say, not to be mean, but the Royale High Twitter community has to be one of the nastiest communities on Twitter. And there are, of course, you know, really nice people on there and people who are very kind. But at least my experience is that there's a lot of people on there that seem to have like just complete unrestricted access to the internet and don't go outside and are really quick to be very, for lack of better terms, verbally abusive towards other members of the community, which I think is unfortunate because I don't know, I don't see that kind of behavior replicated in other gaming communities that I'm a part of on Twitter. It's just very bizarre in my opinion. And I guess part of it has to do with the fact that there's people of all ages that play Royale High, and so there will be people who don't understand the weight of their words, or maybe people who are just internet trolls who like to make other people feel sad. But regardless, I definitely do think there was a ton of negativity regarding this update, specifically from certain members of the Royale High community on Twitter. Now, this person says, calling items cheap and ugly is known as expressing an opinion, something that the dev team doesn't want their player base to do. Oh my. Which, guys, by the way, I am, of course, censoring people's usernames just because I don't want people getting harassed for having an opinion. Which, sure, you could say it's expressing an opinion, but, like, I feel like that's in line with, like, I don't know, like you could say that calling people like names is expressing an opinion, but it's still not nice. You know, it's the premise of what you're saying and how you're delivering it. You're allowed to say, I don't like the items, they look cheap, but you could say it in a way that's like, hey, I don't really like these items. I feel like the amount of effort that was put into them doesn't reflect like how much the game passes were worth or something like that, right? But I think it's more so the delivery that Royale High is trying to emphasize here, because it must be really hard for the developers who made these items to see people just basically dogging on their work. And there is a way to get your voices heard, but being disrespectful is not one of them, okay? Like, people are not going to listen to you if you're being a bully. Now, Royale High responded, the dev team does not run this account. It's managed by a separate team. No one is stopping you from expressing your opinion. We're simply asking that you refrain from insulting the items on our platform. Constructive feedback is always welcome, but name-calling and disrespectful comments aren't. You're free to share your thoughts however you'd like on your own page. We're just maintaining the tone of the space as the community manager, managing the community, period. There's a polling game for Game Pass holders to express their opinion. Which, that's the thing here. People aren't saying that you can't call the items cheap or whatever on your own account, but it's different when you're going onto Royale High's official Twitter account and like trying to like incite like a mob of people to harass the community manager because you don't like an item. You know what I mean? Like, that's what your personal page is for. Don't be using somebody else's page where they have a bunch of people viewing it because your page doesn't get views to perpetuate these really toxic narratives. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, if you own a community, you don't want people using your community that you have built with your follower base to spread negativity. I think that's a pretty generic, request to have. This person says, here are the compensation items out already. I just logged in. I don't have anything in my inventory. Bought both Game Passes as well. Which, to clarify, currently you can only try them on. They haven't been given out yet. And something I also noticed with the new set was I purchased it and wore some of the items. And when I would go to different servers, if the servers hadn't updated yet, it removed all the items out of my inventory and I didn't see it on my avatar, which I kind of panicked for a second, but it was just because it was an older server. So make sure when you're joining a new server. Sometimes like the smallest servers are the ones that were just started, so that's probably your best bet. But they are technically out, I guess you could say, like in the shop for you to try on, but they aren't in players' inventories just yet. Now this person says, hey, so why are we being patronizing? People are allowed to be upset. It's not disrespectful to have an opinion and label the items as PG adjectives. These are unfortunately a completely normal reaction to rewards that are essentially, here, damn, compensation items, which I can respect that. And obviously I can respect that people don't necessarily love the items, but also I feel like the fact that we got not one, but 2 Halos, I don't know, I feel like that's pretty fair. And I know not everybody loves Halos and stuff like that, but I do feel like, I don't know, I think the biggest critique I've seen is people saying that there isn't enough toggles, which I can definitely see that with the one that has the diamonds, which I'm not exactly sure what they're calling that one. But there isn't necessarily a ton of toggles with that specific Halo. It's more so just like changing the diamond sizes. So I can understand people's perspective on that. But personally, I feel like people oftentimes undermine the amount of effort that goes, excuse me, I'm a bit sick, undermine the amount of effort that goes into creating items. So I feel like from an outsider perspective, you have to try to like, I don't know, understand like the development process, and maybe if they could share like context into the development process, that would help people not be as angry. I don't know, but this person says, I don't mean to be negative, I really don't. I just have a feeling the 2x Halo was just a copy and paste of the normal diamonds. If there was at least just some small details to make it a little more interesting, it would help a lot. Which again, this is what I was referencing. It seems like people are a little bit frustrated with the 2x Halo item because they feel like it was like less effort than the 4x one, which I can understand that perspective, but also I feel like if the other Game Pass costs significantly more than the 2x one, I think you would expect that that Game Pass has like a quote-unquote like better item, I guess you could say, with more details. So I do feel like it's kind of like a give and take with the value of the Game Passes, but this person says, I'm a bit disappointed with the 2x Halo. I know it's only the 2x Halo, but it just looks so similar to the Harmonic Hearts, just without the gold and wand. I still believe there should be a reward for people who bought both, some sort of like an extra thank you. Which, as someone who bought both, I don't feel the need for an extra thank you. It's like whatever. Personally, again though, my main critique is that I just wish they would have kept the multipliers in, but I think at this point it's pretty obvious they're not doing that, so I think unfortunately you have to just kind of be like, okay, alright, this is what we get. This person says, why does it cost so much Robux to buy diamonds? It's honestly so wild how much money this game wants to take, especially when it's supposed to be aimed at a younger crowd. Will these prices drop? Which I'm not exactly sure when the economic rework is coming, because as of today, when I was farming, I was still getting double diamonds. However, or 6x diamonds, whatever, because I have both multipliers. But I do believe the economic rework is being accompanied by revised rates for the diamonds in the shop, so the prices are going to be different. Now, I do believe the economic rework is set to come out potentially tomorrow, but I'm not 100% sure. It's kind of like up in the air because obviously there's a lot that goes into an update like that, and so I'm trying to be like obviously respectful to the fact that it takes a lot of effort and may take a while, but that's kind of like the idea we've been given from the messages that have been put on the Twitter, so I would expect that maybe some of that stuff will be adjusted tomorrow when that update does drop, potentially. Now, this person says, I honestly love the temp of the general. The 2 times reward is nowhere near as pretty as the 4 times reward or any other Halo in general. It feels like they barely put any effort into it, especially when comparing it to other reward in past Halos, which, I don't know. Personally, I don't think it's that bad. I could see people maybe thinking it was like a copy and paste of pre-existing game assets and then just animating them into a Halo. But again, I feel like as an outsider, we don't necessarily know how much effort goes into making a Halo. And, you know, we learned from the last set that the formatting itself takes for absolutely ever. And so I feel like you have to be pretty, I don't know, just kind of mindful of how much effort goes into stuff, and maybe Royale High could share some feedback on like their development process and why they chose the specific design, stuff like that. Maybe, I don't know, but regardless, there will always be people that are unhappy with an update. Would I personally like to have gotten 2 Halos? No, I would have preferred to just keep my Game Pass, but at the end of the day, that's really obviously not an option anymore. So I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care that much about the new Halos. They don't really rub me the wrong way or anything like that. Maybe it's because I'm not super into like wearing a ton of Halos to begin with, but I don't know. I'd like to know your guys' thoughts down below. What do you think about the Halo compensation rewards? Should they be tradable? Do you think they're quote unquote cheap or ugly? Let me know your thoughts down below, and also let me know if you guys would like me to do a giveaway. Should I do like an art competition? Should I do just like a random wheel giveaway? Let me know your thoughts down below and I will set one up. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!